If you talk to yourself when you're at home, in the car, or walking down the street, you may have wondered if it's strange. Perhaps you've even hidden this habit from others, afraid of seeming different. But the truth is, this way of functioning can reveal creative and emotional superpowers that most people don't even imagine you have. This behavior isn't a diagnosis of anything. It's simply a way to better understand how your body and mind learn, process, and organize the world around you. In TVD, we'll explore 10 characteristics that commonly appear in people who talk to themselves. These aren't flaws. They are specific ways of thinking, feeling, and reacting that, when understood, reveal a very particular emotional and creative intelligence. You'll realize that many of these traits are already within you, working silently, protecting, organizing, and creating things that no one else sees. If you recognize yourself in any part of this behavior, don't be alarmed. It just means your brain has found its own way of processing life, and perhaps, by the end of this video, you'll be able to look at this habit with more affection and less judgment. If any part of this behavior seems familiar to you, share it in the comments. This is a quiet space to recognize yourself and better understand your own superpowers. Your mind organizes the chaos by speaking aloud, even when no one is listening. When you're alone and you start talking, it's not because you've gone crazy. It's because your brain has found a way to transform confused thoughts into something clearer and more organized. Speaking aloud acts as a filter. What was jumbled inside your head takes shape, sound, rhythm, and suddenly, what seemed impossible to solve becomes simpler, more real, closer to a solution. This superpower of organizing internal chaos is rare. Most people let their thoughts spin endlessly, never letting them out. You, on the other hand, have created your own method of bringing order to your feelings. It could be while cooking, while tidying your room, or while driving. The important thing is that your voice becomes a tool for clarity, not madness. This habit reveals that you're not afraid to listen to yourself. Many people avoid their own inner voice because it brings uncomfortable truths. Now you confront it, organize it, resolve it, and that, deep down, is a type of emotional courage that few possess. Talking to yourself isn't a sign of loneliness. It's a sign that you know how to support yourself. You process difficult emotions by putting them into words before they explode inside. Some people bottle everything up. They swallow anger, sadness, frustration, and let it accumulate until their bodies can't take it anymore. Nor you. When something bothers you, you need to let it out. Even if it's alone in your room, speaking softly. It's not drama. It's emotional survival. Your body has learned that holding things in too much hurts, so it created a release valve, the spoken word, even without an audience. This superpower of transforming feelings into language protects you from major emotional outbursts. While other people accumulate emotions to the limit and then collapse, you process them little by little, aloud, like someone cleaning the house every day instead of letting it become a mess. It's a silent way to take care of your own mental health without needing a therapist, without needing anyone to listen. The interesting thing is that when you talk to yourself, you also hear yourself. And hearing your own voice saying what hurts has an almost magical effect. The problem ceases to be just a confusing feeling and becomes something concrete, something that can be understood, faced, and resolved. You don't run away from your emotions. You invite them into the conversation. And that's a type of emotional intelligence that many people take years to develop. You rehearse future conversations because your brain needs to feel prepared for the world. How many times have you talked to yourself about something that hasn't even happened yet? Rehearsed what you were going to say in a meeting, in a discussion, in a difficult request. Repeated phrases, tested tones of voice, imagined reactions. This isn't insecurity, it's strategy. Your body has learned that preparing mentally reduces anxiety in the real moment. It's as if you were training in a simulator before entering the real game. This superpower of anticipating scenarios reveals a mind that doesn't like to be caught off guard. You prefer to be in control, even if only in your imagination. And that's not a bad thing. In fact, it's a very intelligent form of emotional protection. While other people enter difficult situations unprepared and feel lost, you've already been through it 1,000 times in your head. You already know what could go wrong. You already have plans B, C, and D. The curious thing is that, often, the actual conversation doesn't even happen the way you rehearsed. But the simple fact of having rehearsed already makes you calmer, more centré, more confident, because you're not improvising. You're executing something that your brain has already organized. And that, ultimately, is a way of taking care of yourself even before leaving home. If you've noticed this way of reacting in yourself or someone close to you, right, this sounds like me. This helps this video reach more people who think and feel similarly. You solve problems out loud because hearing your own logic works better than just thinking. There are problems that seem impossible when they're only in your head. But when you start talking about them alone, something changes. The pieces fall into place. The solution appears. It's not magic. It's just that your brain works better when you activate more than one sense at the same time. Thinking is one thing. Thinking and listening is another. The voice transforms abstract thought into something concrete, and that facilitates understanding. This superpower of solving problems by talking to yourself shows that you have a very particular way of processing information. You are not passive. You interact with your own thoughts as if you were conversing with an intelligent person who lives inside you. And, in a way, you are. You have created a method of internal dialogue that functions as free consulting, available 24 hours a day. The most interesting thing is that, often, you don't even realize you're doing it. You're trying to remember where you left your keys, and suddenly you're talking to yourself. Did I leave it on the table? No, I put it in my pocket. Oh, it's in my bag. And that's it. Problem solved. While other people get lost in their own thoughts, you use your voice as a mental navigation tool. It's simple, efficient, and totally yours. You keep yourself company because you've learned that you can't always rely on others. Talking to yourself isn't just about organizing your thoughts or solving problems. Sometimes it's about not feeling so alone. Your body learned, at some point, that people aren't always available when you need them. So you created a way to keep yourself company. It's not sad. It's adaptation. It's pure emotional intelligence. You discovered that you can be your own company, and that makes you less dependent on the presence of others. This superpower of emotional self-sufficiency is rare and valuable. Many people despair when they are alone because they don't know how to deal with their own silence. Not you. You talk, you comment, you laugh at your own jokes, you make observations about your day. You've transformed solitude into something habitable, even comfortable. And that doesn't mean you don't like people. It means you've learned not to depend on them to feel whole. The curious thing is that the more you get used to being your own company, the less you tolerate empty relationships. You don't need someone just to fill the silence. You already know how to do that on your own. So, when you choose to be with someone, it's because that person truly adds something to your life. And that's a type of emotional maturity that many people never reach. You think out loud because your creative brain needs to hear ideas taking shape. Creative people rarely think in a straight line. Ideas come in flashes, in pieces, in loose images that need to be assembled like a puzzle. And talking to yourself is a way of putting together this puzzle in real time. You say it, test it, adjust it, until the idea finally makes sense. It's not mental clutter. It's a creative process happening live, unfiltered, without an audience, just you and your own genius in the making. This superpower of externalizing creative thought reveals that you're not afraid to make mistakes on your own. You test phrases, invent solutions, change your mind midway, and all of this out loud, while other people freeze because they want everything to be perfect the first time. You allow the process to be messy, experimental, alive. And it's precisely this freedom that makes your ideas more original, more authentic, more yours. The interesting thing is that many of his best ideas were born this way, talking to himself, without pressure, without judgment. It could be while taking a shower, while washing dishes, while walking around the house. In those moments, his brain is free to create without fear. And the voice acts as a bridge between the inner and outer world, transforming thought into reality, even if no one else is listening. You motivate yourself because you've learned that nobody else will do it for you. There are days when you need to give yourself that extra push. So you talk to yourself, come on, you can do it. Just a little more. You're almost there. It's not madness. It's self-care. Your body has learned that external motivation doesn't always come when you need it. So you've created your own internal source of encouragement. It's like you're your own coach, your own trainer, always there, reminding you that you're capable. This superpower of self-motivation reveals an impressive emotional strength. Many people give up at the first difficulty because they wait for someone to come along and tell them it's worth continuing. You don't wait. You get up, shake yourself off, and keep going. You talk to yourself as if you were talking to a friend who needs support, and that friend is yourself. This isn't loneliness. It's emotional autonomy at the deepest level. The interesting thing is that the more you practice this self-motivation, the stronger it becomes. You create a repertoire of phrases, tones of voice, and ways to encourage yourself that work specifically for you. Nobody else needs to know. Nobody else needs to understand, because this conversation is yours, with you, and it keeps you standing on days when the world seems too heavy. You process memories by talking about them as if you were rewriting your own history. Sometimes you find yourself reminiscing about something that happened and, without realizing it, you start talking about it to yourself. You tell the story again, change details, comment on what you felt, what you should have said, what you understood afterward. It's not rumination. It's processing. Your brain is reorganizing the memory, removing the emotional weight from it, transforming experience into learning. It's as if you were editing your own past, not to lie, but to understand it better. This superpower of reinterpreting memories aloud shows that you're not stuck in what's already happened. You revisit, question, and reorganize. And each time you tell that story to yourself, it changes a little. It becomes lighter, clearer, more yours. While other people carry the past like a dead weight, you transform it into something that makes sense, that teaches, that liberates. The interesting thing is that, often, you don't even realize you're doing therapy alone. You're doing laundry, driving, or lying in bed, and suddenly you're talking about what hurt you, what confused you, what still hurts a little. And as you talk, you begin to heal, slowly, without rushing, without an audience. Just you, your voice, and the courage to look inside without fear. If this explanation has made things clearer about your personality, comment, "Now I understand better. Your participation strengthens this self-awareness community." You verbalize decisions because you need to hear the pros and cons before choosing. When you have a difficult decision ahead of you, it's not enough to just think. You need to speak. You need to hear the arguments coming out of your mouth as if you were debating with yourself. If I do this, that happens. But if I don't, it could be worse. You weigh, compare, and test each possibility aloud. It's not indecision. It's carefulness. Your body has learned that important decisions deserve to be heard, not just thought about. This superpower of externalizing the decision-making process reveals that you take your choices seriously. You don't act impulsively. You analyze, question, and consider. And talking to yourself is the way you've found to avoid getting lost at so many variables. It's as if you were both judge and lawyer at the same time, presenting all sides before making a decision. And this protects you from future regrets, because you know you thought everything through before. The curious thing is that, after talking to yourself about a decision, you usually feel more clarity. The answer that was confused inside becomes obvious when it comes out in words. You realize what really matters, what is fear, what is intuition, and then you decide, not because someone convinced you, but because you convinced yourself. And that is the most honest decision there is. You maintain a constant internal dialogue because your mind never stops observing and interpreting the world. Your brain never shuts off. It's always on, always observing, always commenting. You see something on the street and you're already talking to yourself about it. You read a news article and start debating with the wall. You watch a movie and you narrate your impressions in real time, even when no one is around. It's not restlessness, it's active curiosity. Your body has learned that the world is full of interesting details, and you can't simply let them pass by. You need to process, comment, understand. This superpower of maintaining a constant internal dialogue reveals an extremely active and engaged mind. You are not passive. You don't just consume information, you interact with it. You question, agree, disagree, reformulate. And talking to yourself is the way you've found to avoid letting all that accumulate inside your head. It's as if you're always in conversation with the world, even when you're physically alone. The interesting thing is that this habit keeps you mentally sharp. While other people go on autopilot, you're always thinking, always connecting ideas, always creating meaning. And that doesn't tire you. In fact, it nourishes you, because you weren't made to live in mental silence. You were made to think aloud, feel aloud, live aloud. And talking to yourself is just the most honest way to be exactly who you are. Talking to yourself isn't a sign that something is wrong with you. In fact, it's a sign that your brain has found very particular and intelligent ways to process life. Each of these 10 traits we've explored here reveals a hidden superpower, the ability to organize yourself internally, to motivate yourself, to monitor yourself, to create, to decide clearly, to heal your own wounds. All of this happens aloud, away from the eyes of others, but never away from yourself. If you recognized yourself in any of these points, know that you're not alone. Thousands of people function exactly like this. And the more you understand this way of being, the more you can use it to your advantage. Talking to yourself isn't crazy. It's language. It's self-care. It's emotional intelligence in action. It's you being honest with yourself in a way that many people never manage to be. So, the next time you find yourself talking to yourself, don't be ashamed. Don't judge yourself. Juste observe. Notice what you're processing, what you're resolving, what you're healing. Because this habit, which seems so strange to an outsider, is actually one of the purest forms of self-knowledge that exists. You don't need an audience to be heard. You already hear yourself, and that, ultimately, is everything. Have you ever noticed this type of behavior in yourself or someone you care about? Share your experience in the comments. Sometimes, just reading similar stories makes us feel much less alone. If you enjoy content that reveals the hidden superpowers in your personality, subscribe to the channel. Here, we look at common daily habits with a calmer, deeper, and more human perspective.